Christmas. And we started off with the first character that we were looking at, the prophet Isaiah. And we looked at all of the prophecies that Isaiah had given us concerning the virgin having a son, and all of this that he's written 700 years before the birth of Christ. Isaiah was writing out tremendous prophecies about Jesus. And we know that this couldn't happen unless this had come from the Lord. And so when we look at Scripture, this validates for us the validity of Scripture and the fact that we can trust that the Bible is inerrant and that these are the words of God. And so as we look at this and we see that He has given us not just the prophecy in Isaiah 7, the virgin would be with child and bear a son, and she will call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. And so as we look at this, we see His hand and His plan. Do you remember back in Genesis when at the fall, He told the serpent that He would put enmity between her seed and his seed, and that his seed would bruise the heel, but that her seed would bruise the head. In other words, that would be a fatal blow to evil, and He would conquer that. And then we see as the Bible progresses how the Lord is working out His plan. Hundreds of years go by, and then you see another prophetic act go by, or a prophecy, and you think, okay, the Lord is working in His timeline and in His plan. And then the second character that we looked at was the Magi. And you'll remember when we looked at the Magi, we were talking about the fact that the Magi were greatly influenced by the prophet Daniel, because Daniel had been the prefect in charge of all of the wise men of Babylon and Persia. And so when we look at these two, it's not a big surprise that the Magi showed up looking for the king, because they had had all the writings and all the information from their person who was in charge of all the wise men, Daniel. And Daniel worked through 4 kings. He worked through Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. He worked through Belshazzar, which was the son of Nebuchadnezzar. And then he worked through Darius the Mede. And then he worked finally through Cyrus the Great of Persia. And so through all of these years that he was working through these kings, we were reading about how he changed the hearts of those kings, and how those kings came to respect the God of Daniel. And so Daniel's influence over the wise men and how those were all carried down lead us to understand that it's not a big surprise that these men would know about this Jewish king that they came to find. And so now tonight we're going to look at a third. We're going to look at a third individual, Elizabeth, the wife of Zechariah the priest, and the mother of John the Baptist. And we're going to see her influence, and we're going to see that situation and how that transpired. Because every time we look at one of these people, whether it's been Isaiah or Daniel, we start to see God's hand in what is going on. This was not happen chance that this happened. This was not just something that God came up with. This was the plan of God before the foundation of the world, that these things would happen and that He would run through this plan and would secure the victory for us in our salvation and for His Son. And so tonight, we're going to look at Elizabeth. And so, if you want to show that video, we'll watch that, and then we'll continue from there.